Hello everyone, Shadefire here, and welcome to the very first What's update for Subnautica Below Zero. Because they've just released the first major update, the Sea Truck update, so we'll be checking that out. There's not too much new stuff, so this shouldn't be too long, but we've got a new biome, of course, new vehicle, the Sea Truck, which is kind of Below Zero's equivalent of the Sea Moth. Let's get down to the base here. So yeah, we've got a new biome, we've got two new creatures, we've got the vehicle, and we've got one reworked biome. There's nothing else too much beyond that. There's a lot of little things, some new music tracks for various new biomes instead of reused old ones. There's also, our first creature is actually, if we can find one around here, there's a lot of pinnacarids around my base, but I am looking for the sea monkey. This little bugger here. So their main thing is, they like your tools, they want them, and they will steal them and just swim away with them. I do love that if you give them the flashlight, it stays on. But yeah, you can just kind of casually be like, hey, give me that. It's only if you have tools in your hand they'll try to steal it, so if you put them away when you're around them, they don't care. What's this? Mobile vehicle bay. So yeah, a lot of things that were in Subnautica have been added back in this update. Stuff like the battery charger, the moon pool, just kind of generally useful stuff that was already in Subnautica. Also the power cell charger. So that stuff's all good and fine, but I'm not going to go into the stuff that's just returning. Anyhow, here is the Sea Truck, which looks a little more squat and awkward and less hydrodynamic than the Sea Moth, but that's because it's actually designed, as you might guess from the title, for hauling. In this case, you can add modules onto it, which you can then kind of customize what you're bringing with you. So it kind of works both like a Sea Moth and a Cyclops. So when you have just the cab, then you just get in and out like the Sea Moth. However, when you have the back modules, you actually just kind of walk around like it's a little base. So we're going to go dock the modules. But despite the way this thing looks, it's actually pretty maneuverable. You can do like rolls and stuff a lot faster than you could with the Sea Moth. I mean, you couldn't really roll that much with the Sea Moth on purpose. It kind of just happened when you got stuck on stuff. But I've got my set of cargo modules up here. So I have 3 modules here, just one of each of the ones I've found the fragments for so far. We've got the Aquarium Module, which actually sucks up fish as you go by, and then you can pick them up from the inside and cook them. We've got the Storage Module, which just has a bunch of lockers in it, and then we have the Fabricator Module, which lets you craft stuff on the go, including being able to, you know, cook the fish that you catch in this thing, so it pretty much allows you to be self-sufficient. So to attach to this thing, you just gotta go up to the side that has the bars on it, plant yourself here, and, well, I didn't actually mean to do that. I was going to show that there is a reversal cam, as you can see there. So you just have to line it up, back up into it, and it'll snap on. And you can see these are all connected, so they just snap all on together. And if you want, you can just hit disconnect and leave them wherever you want. So I guess you could kind of leave little bases around, but they don't have any power if the main thing is not connected. But you could also just have, you know, like a couple of these built as sets, and just, you know, whatever you're planning on doing, you just connect the one you want. But yeah, you just line it up like this, and it's connected. And now, when you get out, you can walk around. You know, you can do your crafting. This is also how you make the upgrades for this thing. So I have the horsepower, which just lets you go faster when you have modules, because otherwise the modules slow you down the more of them you have. And I got the depth upgrade. There's also an afterburner, which I guess is a boost of some sort, so I might want to make one of those. And then you got your storage one. So if you wanted, you could just attach a bunch of these storage modules and haul a lot of shit around, which it'll make it a lot easier to get resources, I think, because the thing's easier to maneuver than the Cyclops. Now this thing, you can open these from the inside. I think they can only store 2 fish at a time. Oh, no. I guess that was just because I only had 2 in there that they were showing up. But yeah, it just basically vacuums them up as you go by, so it's kind of neat. Not that useful, though. And then you can just go out the back door. So it's a pretty cool vehicle. I'm glad that they didn't just go, let's just reuse the sea moth. But they actually wanted to give this thing its own kind of identity. Alright, so let's go check out the new biome, which is the deep Twisty bridges. So it's just a addition to the existing Twisty bridges, but there is new stuff down there along with the other new species. Once I can figure out where I am going, gotta find my beacon marker for the life pod. So yeah, this thing is not very quick when you're hauling, but you can add upgrades onto it to speed it up. I actually probably don't want to bring my modules down there because we have to go through some kind of tight caves to go from the Twisty bridge to the deep Twisty bridge. I actually went down there when I did the first impressions video. It was just the area underneath the Twisty bridges that was a empty hole. I have done a little bit of exploring into the unfinished areas because there's quite a few of them right now. And there's not too much down there, but it is more populated than, like, the void in Subnautica. You know, there actually is a bottom, and there is random fish spawns. And you can actually hear things getting sucked up as I go by. I also found Deep Arctic Resource, which is just a white cube right now. But presumably that's a new resource that'll be used for late game crafting. A lot of the stuff in here is still placeholder. Like, there are bone sharks, there are stalkers, and both of those are only in here until the species they're going to be replaced by are finished. Alright, so I think I'll go down to the bottom of the Twisty bridges and then disconnect my modules. That way they're still close at hand. Plus I can kind of use them to mark the exit. So I don't think that this update has added any story stuff. I have seen a couple little, you know, conversations that are text only pop up. Like there was one when I was just going around the really deep area where I guess Robin encounters a prawn suit with a person in it. So that's interesting. It's kind of weird picturing NPCs anywhere. But again, that's kind of what they're going for with this Subnautica sequel, I guess? I mean, it is more or less a sequel. It's a separate standalone game. It takes place after the first one. It's pretty much a sequel. Alright, so we head down here past the brute sharks. And this biome's not too hard to find. There's kind of a couple cave entrances that'll lead straight down. You just have to find the bottom and follow it. Thankfully, the modules also don't have health yet, so I think you only have to worry about hitting the front. Okay, there is, yeah, an entrance, but I probably cannot fit down there with this train I've got going. So we pull the switch, leave those here. Even the sea truck is a little awkward for this because it's very boxy, so you have to kind of find good open areas to fit through. Also, I'm not doing this rotation. It just kind of does that sometimes when you try to go down. It tries to orient to where it thinks you want to go. Alright, so here we are. The deep Twisty bridges. A lot of glowing red down here. And you can see, again, I think these are mostly placeholders. Hey look, there's the new creature. So this is another predator, a large predator. It is the squid shark, which is a pretty cool design, and we are going to go out and say hi to it, and maybe get a scan. Because you can't really see its most interesting feature when it's just kind of, oh, well, you kind of see it there. Yeah, so it has like a fold-out jaw that comes out of its lips. Also, this is a new track. But let's get a closer look. So yeah, I really like the design of this. I think they've done a good job of designing creatures that don't look too similar to the existing ones. I mean, there's still kind of a prominence of tentacles, because that's just a feature of a lot of creatures on this planet. But you see it's got like the little squid water jets. And it's even got an animation for when it attacks. So yeah, I really like the way this thing looks. And the mouth thing is pretty cool. Does this thing even have? Nope, it doesn't have a description yet. So there's not too much to see down here. No. Oh shit, except for these things. So this is another creature that was cut from the original game, or I guess a plant, the spike trap. And it'll just grab you and pull you in, and I think if it pulls you in, it kills you instantly, regardless of your health.
Oxygen.
So those are kind of the main two new things in this area. Otherwise, it's just a very nice looking area that isn't really filled out yet. There are some fragments you find down here, like some of the sea truck modules, but there's not too much down here yet. It's just mostly the environmental design that's done so far. Still, I like the way this looks. Again, it doesn't look too similar to the existing deep water biomes from Subnautica. You know, it doesn't really look like the blood kelp at all. It's got its own look. And that's good. Oh, see, there's a module. I think these are the Fabricator Modules. No, it's just a sea truck fragment. There are also some useful data boxes you can find around. Like, I have the rebreather, which wasn't in there in the first release. I've got the high capacity tank. I was finding stasis rifle blueprints, so a lot of that stuff is back in the game, which is good. Honestly, the rebreather is probably the most important one, because it would kind of suck if they added a new deep water biome that you could barely breathe in, because you only have the basic air supply. Because obviously we're under 200 meters here, so our oxygen would not last very long without the rebreather. But yeah, that's pretty much all that's down here so far. Not too many new fish species. Okay, I recognize this little oxygen plant, so there is a exit up here. Might be a little too thin for the sea truck, though. Again, the sea moth might be able to fit through these gaps better, but sea truck isn't too bad. And then again, just kind of shuffle up in here. And you can see that we are still slower, even with the horsepower. I think you might have to add a couple horsepower upgrades to get back up to maximum speed. So that's really it so far for completely new creatures and biomes. There is the other biome, which is basically just been fleshed out from the first release, because in the first release, the black smokers around Rocket Island were already there, but now it is the thermal spires biome, so it's been added to a bit. It looks better. There's actually some detail now, but we're gonna head over there. Cargo Rocket Island. And we're just gonna take a look. There's a species there that I didn't show in the first impressions. I mean, I didn't show off everything that was in the initial release in the first impressions video because, you know, I wanted to leave some surprises in there, and also it would have been pretty long if I did the whole thing. But there is another one of the cut creatures from the original Subnautica in the thermal spires, which is the rock puncher. The rock puncher was originally supposed to be a creature that would be able to literally dig through the ground, you know, back before they removed terrain deformation. So in this, it doesn't do that. It just kind of walks around and punches things that attack it. Surprised we haven't seen one yet. There's quite a few of them around here. But yeah, you can see this is all new or newly added. There are these caves underneath that have this distinct rock texture, but there's nothing in them really so far. So I think those are going to be a like thermal spires caves sub-biome eventually. Okay, my truck is taking a beating. I don't know where all these rock bunchers are. They're usually just kind of... Oh, there's one. So they're just usually kind of everywhere. But they are very cool looking large crab fellas. This one appears to be stuck, which is good for us. We can take a quick, close look at it. Yeah, they're not aggressive, but if you get close, they will punch you. A large crustacean which feeds on tiny larvae excavated from coral and rock with its powerful punching arms. Interestingly, the larvae that they're supposed to eat were actually in the original Subnautica. They were tiny little green things that you could see in some of the lower cave areas of the surface. Attracted to glow larvae, found in and around the deep-sea rock formations, hardened chitin claws can be thrust forward at close to the speed of sound to break rocks and bones alike, just like the pistol shrimp. Is it the pistol shrimp? I think I'm actually thinking of a different one. Known to attack larger creatures which threaten its territory, perfectly adapted to cave environments. It's also interesting because this is one of the few creatures that doesn't swim. Instead, it just kind of sticks to the walls. You will often see these guys spawn near the surface and just slowly float down because they can't move at all without touching the ground. But yeah, that's really all that's in this area. They haven't added anything new to the area itself, aside from the environmental design. So that's all there is to show off there. They've also touched up Rocket Island itself. Though I don't see it looking too distinctly different. Aside from the fact that the thermal pools actually have a model now instead of just a blob. This is actually supposed to be a sea truck dock, so I almost docked it correctly. But yeah, this is where the base where you launch rockets up to the Vesper is. Okay, here's one of the thermal pools. So eventually, these will be used to keep you from freezing to death on the surface. You know, one of a variety of things that will keep you warm, but since that's not actually in the game yet, they just kind of are a visual thing, but also a place where you can find crystalline sulfur. So you don't just get it from the bottom anymore. So that used to be a lava zone item. But yeah, like these thermal lilies will also keep you warm, and there is these fruit which you'll be able to pick and eat. They're basically like giant spicy peppers. They keep you warm too. I wonder if you'll be able to grow these in external grow beds. But yeah, I assume there's going to be more on this island because this island's pretty big. And you'll have to keep coming back here to presumably launch rockets. I mean, you have to do that once in what the story content has so far, so it seems safe to assume that's going to be a regular thing. Though I think you might have to build more rockets, because obviously there's only one there and it launches. And they are supposed to be single use. Here's the base, which you can use if you want. There are beds in here, there's crafting fabricator, so it's just a nice little place you can pop into whenever you need it. And up here is the launch pad, which again, we don't actually have another rocket for. Oh, I guess you can construct one with just 2 titanium. Wow, that was abrupt. I assume that'll be a little more complicated in the full game.
Vital signs stabilizing.
But that's pretty much all that was in this update. It wasn't too significant, but it's a good start that they're already putting out content. There was a patch before that, but it was mostly just a fix patch to touch up some of the stuff from the first launch. There is also another area that I want to just quickly pop over to that was actually in the first launch and is another incomplete biome. You know, it's only partially there, but I totally missed it when I played it on the first release, so just want to pop over there and check it out. It's another one of the interesting biomes that they've shown off in concept art, which is the floating lily pad biome. Which seems a little odd, considering the Arctic setting of the game, but maybe they're heat-producing lilies? So that is Beacon Manager lilies. Which is kind of out there. Though I think I actually put that beacon in the middle, so we'll see it before we get there. But yeah, this whole area of the ocean floor next to the island seems to be mostly undeveloped so far. It's just this kind of gray sand. And the thermal spires don't extend all the way around the island. Over on this side is a lot more of that kind of green cave system that I showed. So I assume there's going to be a whole thing there eventually. But yeah, I'm excited to be doing these What's Updates for this game again, or, you know, another Subnautica, because it's a very good game for being able to show off what's new, because, you know, new creature, new place, new tool, new vehicle, is all stuff that's very compartmentalized, so as long as you know what's been added, it's easy to show off what it is, and kind of plan out a video ahead of time. Whereas other games are a lot more kind of spread out in some of the stuff they add in early access. It's like, oh, we added a new boss at, like, near the end of the game for something like Dead Cells. And it's like, well, I might be able to show that. Also, in this biome, there are a bunch of the sea Emperor Juveniles. Now, I don't think there's supposed to be as many as there is right now, but I think there are supposed to be at least one here. Alright, so here's the lilies. They're pretty much what you expect. They're giant lily pads with this kind of root system that extends down to these floating rocks. So I guess the lily pad is holding the rocks up like the floaters? However, they're very sporadic so far. There's, like, not very many of them. And I know people have said that they want to build a base on top of these, but you can't even stand on them yet. You just go right through them. So I don't know if they'll be solid enough. I also read at least one person who thought these were sea dragons from a distance. So they're like, yeah, I noped right out of that area. But yeah, that's pretty much everything that I wanted to show so far. Wow, rude. Oh, yeah, there's... Was there two of them there? Or is it all the same one? I think it was all the same one. There's also an area in the open ocean where I saw like 50 glow whales at once. Like, you could just see them in every direction, and I think that's probably also not intentional. But yeah, you can see when you get down to the bottom of this area that there's really nothing solidly completed yet. It's just a patchwork of textures. As well as these gel sacks, which you can use to make the aerogel, but I don't think there's anything that uses aerogel yet. You've also got these root systems that don't seem to be connected to anything. And I think these guys are also placeholder, because those are just the rabbit rays. So yeah, that's really all that's here so far, but I am looking forward to covering more of these updates as they are released. where it looks like they're going to be going for some kind of monthly release schedule again, which is good because it means we should be able to see these videos pretty regularly. Anyhow, I've been Shadefire, and I'm glad you joined me for this first What's update, and hopefully you'll come by and join me for the future ones. But until next time, take care, everyone.